This is the EVP Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is the EVP Podcast. I am your co-host, DVO.
And I'm the other co-host, Beaker.
Yes, that's right, Dale, a.k.a. Ghosty McGhostface.
Ghosty McGhostface. He's doing Ghosty McGhostface stuff.
He's out in Austin with his daughter, and they're doing some ghost hunting out there this weekend. So you got just the two of us today. I wasn't here last week, so thanks to Lurch for filling in.
That's always fun recording with Lurch.
Yes.
So I used to do another paranormal podcast, right? And out of all the episodes I did in 2020, I had two that were my favorites. And on the other podcast is the first one was when I did the episode with you and with Ghosty. That was the first one that I really enjoyed. And I think that was kind of what made up my mind of leaving that podcast and starting this one. It took us a lot longer than I wanted to start this one.
Right.
But I think when we started, the timing was just right.
It was totally worth it.
My other favorite episode is the one that I did with Lurch, where him and I talked about Insidious.
Yes, I remember that
it was pretty much just Lurch and myself. Like the other guy, the other two people that were on the show, one of them was actually in the room with us. We didn't really let him talk. And then the other person was sick and she couldn't be on the show.
Okay.
So it was pretty much Lurch and I talking, and kind of like last episode, if you listen to it, we didn't really let Ghosty talk that much.
He's just kind of listening.
But I think he enjoyed it. I mean, it seemed like he was having fun hearing I think a lot of those stories he never heard before.
Right. I think that's what he's doing. He's absorbing those stories because, like he says, I never heard these before.
Lurch and I have so many shows. There are so many different stories from different investigations.
Right.
Like I mentioned on the last episode, Lurch and I have known each other. I think we met like 2014.
Okay, all right.
So
wow,
7 years.
Yeah.
It's been. I think this June will be like 7 years.
Wow. All right.
So it's been quite a while, and he's a great guy. I loved having him on the show, and I hope to get him on the show more often.
You guys should check out his work. I know he put his Instagram handles at the end of the episode, but he's got some really good artistic work that he's done. Like, you guys should really check it out. He's got some good stuff on there.
So yeah, thanks for listening to the Lurch episode. On this particular episode, if the audio quality sounds a little bit different than normal, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm actually getting the YouTube videos posted.
Yes, I noticed that. Thank you.
They're all up now except for episodes 2 and 3. The reason for that is we originally recorded on your iPod, I think.
Right.
And
good issue with it.
I have a different camera that I can actually hook up to our mixer and all that, which it took me too many episodes to figure out how to fix that up and whatnot. But for those of you, like I said, watching on YouTube right now, you can see that we're not in the normal studio.
Yes, because actually we record in Dale's house. He has actually a studio that we built in there. But since he's out of town, we're not recording in there.
We're actually recording in the back of a mobile office.
Yeah, what you guys talked about in the last episode. You mentioned it. But yes, I actually have a mobile office that I work out of. And so we're actually recording in the back seat of it, which is pretty awesome.
So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit on the YouTube video. So now you can see kind of the whole inside of the office. It's legit got a table in here and this whole cool setup and a pen. We have a pen holder with pens.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where we're recording. That's why the audio might be a little bit different this week, but it's still going to be good.
It's going to be awesome. So you ready to talk about this week's episode?
Yes.
So this week's episode I want to talk about is prophetic dreams. This was from another podcast that I listened to. It was with, I'm going to look at my notes here, with Pastor Dana Coverstone. I believe he's in Kentucky. So he's a pastor, he doesn't have like a huge church. Like, he's pretty, decent size. I think he said about 80 members of his church. But he's had some prophetic dreams. And I just thought, well, that's kind of supernatural a little bit. And some of these kind of struck me. And so that's why I want to talk about it on this episode. Because it seems like some of them, in a sense, may or may not have come true. And we can have like discussions about what his dreams were and what he maybe what he interpreted them to be and what we can interpret them to be. So, did you listen to much of his interview? You watched a couple of his YouTube videos.
I watched one of his YouTube videos where he talked about some of his dreams, and we'll get into why I didn't like the video.
Okay,
a little bit later. But let's. You want to talk about like some of the stuff that he said he dreamed about? Or...
So, originally, he said in the history about 1996 when he was doing I think youth counseling for his church. One of his pastors told him that one day he would grow up and he would prophesize. Is that the word?
Prophesize?
Prophesize. There we go. Prophesize to over 100,000 people. And then some of his dreams have kind of gone viral. His videos of talking about his dreams have gone viral. And he said that his son told him that one of his Facebook videos reached 100,000 viewers. So anyway, just kind of starting off with that. But he had some dreams. And I'm going to talk about 4 of them.
Okay.
So he had this one in December of 2019.
I think this is the one that I saw in the YouTube video.
Okay. So this was December 2019. He had a dream of a calendar. Is this the one?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a calendar, and it was a hand flipping pages. And so it started off with January, flipped to February, it flipped to March. When it got to March, a finger, this is just a dream, a finger tapped March 3 times.
And we talked about the 3-time thing.
Right,
in one of our previous episodes.
Kind of interesting.
So, not that it's anything like negative or evil or anything, but threes do have some sort of significance in the paranormal.
And then it flipped to April, May, June. Got to June, it tapped June 3 times again, and then he had some visions with that one. In the visions, people were wearing masks. Hospitals were full. There were headlines of a pandemic. There were protesters out in the street. So that was his dream in December of March and June. So is this the one that you saw?
Yeah.
Well, it's okay.
Well, I think it went a little bit further than that too, because I think it flipped through and stopped again in, I believe, like September or October.
But those dreams happened in June.
Oh, okay. So that was a separate dream.
That was a separate dream.
So
he had 3 dreams that was in this interview that I listened to. So his first dream was December 2019. The other 2 were both in June of 2020.
And we can put up a link on Facebook and the social media to this YouTube video that we're talking about. It seemed very interesting. I mean, the fact that like if he, I don't know when he first came out and told this or went public.
It was that week he had the dream. So it was in December.
So that's when
That's when he talked about. So what he did is he does like a group prayer, I believe, with a couple other friends or pastors, and he shared his dream. He shared the dream I just mentioned in December of 2019.
Okay.
So he dreamt it and shared it December 2019.
Yeah, I know he talked to some of his close friends and they said they vouch for him and whatnot. Where I ran into the issue is the video that talked about these dreams was posted in October of 2020. So a full almost a year after he had the dream. And my thing is like, had he gone viral with this right when he had the dream?
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably tell you I had a dream, right? Yeah. And then I'd be like, back me up on this, right? Back me up, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Not saying he did that. He's a pastor, and pastors are usually pretty honest.
Yeah.
So I really don't know the guy, so I don't have any reason to doubt him. But where I had issue is he's going viral with this dream, and he posted it almost a year after it happened.
Right.
So
I think probably another interview that you watched.
Maybe. So I mean that's what I saw, and that's kind of where I was at with the whole thing. So my first impression was, well, if he had these dreams in December, I can, after a year after the pandemic and all this stuff happens, I could go on YouTube and be like, yeah, I totally had a dream about this.
Yeah, right. But no, he did put them on his Facebook page in December of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, with the friends.
So for those of you, if you haven't realized by now, I didn't research. DVO did all the research for me. So
let's talk about that first dream. So again, March the fingers tap on it 3 times on the calendar.
You know, it's funny, and I remember March very specifically last year because that's when I came back to work. I was on FMLA for 3 months because I had a torn tendon in my foot.
Okay.
And I got back like March 9th, I think, or 10th, or the 15th, or whatever that. I think it was like the second or third week in March. And I was only back to work for like 2 weeks before it just went crazy with the pandemic.
Yes.
And
shutdowns were happening.
Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
We were forced to wear masks everywhere. We've had to wear, I'm still wearing masks at work. I'm not going to go into why I think masks are stupid, but I do it anyways because it's just easier.
Right.
But yeah, I remember very specifically, like, I mean, with his dream, like it stopped.
Yeah.
According to him in his dream, it stopped the calendar on March, and that's exactly when like it got really bad. Like, I know it's COVID-19 because they found it, they were aware of it in the end of 2019. They were aware of it in January, February, and all that, but March is when it really hit home and really affected not just America but the entire world.
I mean, we live in Utah, and that's when it really hit Utah too, because it was the Utah Jazz players that contracted it and then spread it throughout the NBA, shut down the NBA. That was also in March.
I remember that.
So yeah, it was almost like March is when really the pandemic. It was actually considered a pandemic worldwide. Yeah. I think was March. So yeah, that was kind of my notes, was that. And then again, so this dream happened in December 2019, and then on June also it tapped 3 times. He saw people wearing masks, hospitals were full, protesters were out in the streets, headlines of pandemic, newspaper headlines of pandemic.
Yep, there was the pandemic. I remember June. Yeah. I remember June very well as well. It was, I believe, June 24th, to be honest with you, if I remember the exact day. I was doing an investigation at Asylum 49 that night. Okay. And that was also the night that there was the protest here in Salt Lake.
Yes. So let's talk about that. That's my notes. George Floyd died May 25th. So basically the end of May was when George Floyd died. And now I think that was like the spark of a lot of the protests, right? Would you agree? Yeah.
It was definitely a spark of a lot of the protest.
So that was May 25th, so you can imagine a week later, we're already in June, and that's probably when the organizations of the protests.
I think they were starting and all that, because if I remember correctly, I believe it was June 24th when the big protest in Salt Lake happened.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of the month, at the end of June, but I know there was other protests going on
across the country
before that, before it even hit Utah. But we had the one big one here in Utah, and that one was just crazy. Like, watching it unfold live on the news, it was just like, in my lifetime, like, I'm almost 39.
Okay.
Right? And I know you're a little bit older, but can you honestly think of any time in our adult life where there's been mass protests across the country like this? No. Like, I've seen protests across the country, like in different states, just for different things.
Yeah.
But never anything like this organized and this big for the same cause across the entire country.
Exactly.
The last thing I can remember is when they were protesting the Vietnam War in the 70s.
Well, I remember it was one of the...
They might have been Rodney King.
I think when the original Black Lives Matter group was started, because there was a death of a young black male, and I think that triggered something. I don't think it was as big, though. Like, it happened, and there was protests, but I don't think... It was definitely not as big. It was more like people walking in the streets. It wasn't people rioting around the Capitol, spray painting, vandalizing... like it did. Like, there was like crazy vandalizations with this.
There were several cars here in Utah, cop cars that were burned,
flipped over
and set on fire.
Peed on.
Los Angeles they were completely torn apart. I think it was Portland, or was it Seattle?
Well, it was Seattle, like, they created their own little
autonomous zone.
Yeah.
They basically kicked all the cops out and said, we're policing ourselves now.
Yeah, exactly. Until they got raided and gave up quick. Yeah. So that was part of his dream in December 2019. So again, I think he's done a few interviews because they went viral. His dreams, because so he did, and he didn't like, I've been doing a little bit of research on him. He was doing everything on his Facebook page. So he's doing Facebook he's putting videos on his Facebook page.
Gotcha.
Before, and then there's a lot of like fake YouTube channels created. So he created his own. Like, no, this is me. This is my channel. Don't believe everything else. This is my channel. Here's where I'm gonna start putting more of my videos. I don't know when he did that, but originally these dreams he put on interviews in December 2019.
Okay.
So I think you could go there and find these.
Like, if I'd done my research, I would have.
No, you're good. No, it's good.
Sometimes I like to come in blind. Go with it.
All right, so that was December 2019. He had dreams about March and June, a finger touching the calendar 3 times, and big things happened then. So June 2020, he had 2 more dreams. So we'll do the first one. The calendar flipped again to September 3rd, or I'm sorry, September, and then tapped 3 times. No, he didn't really have any other visions besides that, and I don't really remember anything happening in September that I could think of. So
That's when I got robbed.
For you, yeah. So something major happened to you. He's spot on then.
Someone broke into my car, basically. And by broke into, I mean I must have forgot to lock the door because there was no damage to the car. But that's when they stole most of my paranormal gear.
Those bastards.
But other than that, I don't really remember any big events happening in September. Other than, I think COVID might have been starting to resurge at that point.
Oh, it was like mutating, spiking again.
I think so.
Maybe. So yeah, who knows? It's hard to tell. So far, Pastor Dana 2 for 3. And then again, it flips to November, but instead of a finger tapping 3 times, a fist slams down on the calendar. And there was even longer lines at the hospitals. He said Washington D.C. looked really dirty, like polluted, like smog, and the White House was empty. So that was his first June dream. So what do you think about that one? So again, November, a fist slams, longer lines in the hospital, D.C. looks polluted, and the White House is empty. The Oval Office is empty.
Well, the lines of the hospital, I think, might have happened again.
Yeah, I think because it got really busy. See,
it did start like when that second wave hit, and it might have been flu season. I think. Because November is going to be flu season.
Yeah.
November, December.
That's
so I think
right.
flu season hit, and the virus just started kind of ramping up again in November. So I give them that one.
Yeah, and also,
but the White House stuff,
empty. Elections. November was the elections.
November was the elections. And it was a weird, strange election. Like, the debates were weird. And
I've never had so many... I never knew that so many people were so political until this last election and the one before. I was like, oh, I didn't know all my friends were so political.
Same here. Like, I had a lot of... You know, what's funny is, like, watching my Facebook memories popping up.
Yeah.
I was so against, like, I didn't want Hillary to win. But I had so many posts I posted where, like, Donald Trump's stupid. Like, why do you guys want Donald Trump? And then, 4 years later, I'm like, why would you not want Donald Trump? Because I remember when he first got elected, I was like, I want to see where this goes.
Right.
And then, like, 3 months in, I'm like, can we stop the circus show now? Like,
yeah.
But...
Yeah, it's been like a little back and forth. Yeah.
He's done some good things. He's done some bad things.
Yeah.
What president hasn't?
Exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, so this election, November was crazy. Did they announce the winner within like 3 days, right?
They announced the winner so normally, like, I've watched the live coverage, and normally they announce it like at midnight Utah time, like Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
Normally they have it because one of the two is pulled like really far ahead. And this one was just so close to call. And there were so many weird things with this election. Like, I remember one thing, like, so they I think it was Michigan, where they had stopped counting at like midnight their time. And then all of a sudden at 3 a.m, you just see the votes go up for Biden like by 100 million or something like that. Or like 10 million or whatever. It's just like, it's like dead. There's no votes. And then just a huge spike in votes for Biden at like 3 a.m. And I think they were able to explain that. It might have been a glitch in the system or something. Just catching up. I have no idea. But, I mean, I've never seen... there's states that have voted Republican since like forever, basically. And all of a sudden are now voting Democrat.
Yeah.
but not Utah because Utah's smart. It's just it was such a weird election. Just all the
It
stuff went on
was.
leading up to the election, even after the election, all the trials that where Trump was trying to sue pretty much the Democratic Party
Yes.
for voter fraud
Right.
and the mail-in fraud and it's just you've never seen anything like this before.
It was very bizarre. And last election too, I believe the one previous, and so so that kind of makes no sense because obviously you can say okay, it's easy to just kind of say all right, election season's coming up, so he can just say oh, empty White House. But this election was really bizarre. Like a lot of things about it was very peculiar and bizarre, and like President Trump was not around. He actually, I think he did leave or something like that, or he was getting ready to move out, or he like I know he didn't go to the inauguration.
No, I think he has moved to Florida by that point.
Yeah, so that, a lot of things kind of mix a little space, and then Pastor Dana's interpretation of it was a leaderless nation, is what he said. I don't know because obviously this dream happened in June. This interview happened in July that I was listening to this, and he's just kind of interpreting what his dream could mean for November. And he said, I just see like a leaderless nation. I don't know if President Trump is still the president or if President Biden won. I don't know, but that's just my interpretation of it. So,
I saw so many. I mean, not to take away from Pastor here, but I mean, I saw even before the election there was, my friend got me into stupid TikTok.
okay.
Like, I don't have it. Like I have them, but I don't have any videos on TikTok. I've thought about doing like stones or stuff on TikTok. But,
Okay.
oh my God, she's got me on TikTok, sending me videos all the time, and you know who you are. But I would run across these like people that were saying they're time travelers. And
Okay.
then they can predict the future, and they're telling us what the future is.
Okay.
And there was like 2 or 3 of them. They're like, "Yeah, I'm from this year, and Donald Trump is still president. He wins the election." And obviously, they're all wrong.
Yeah.
But, it's just there was a whole lot of that going on.
Okay.
People trying to say they're time travelers or having these dreams
Uh-huh.
where saying this is going to happen. But I think out of all of those people, this guy has been more accurate with his dreams than anybody else.
Yeah, and that's kind of why he's going viral. And he doesn't care for this, He doesn't care for it. He just, like I said, he's just a small pastor in Kentucky. He's just, hey, I'm just sharing with you what I'm seeing. I do believe God speaks to me sometimes. And I think which every pastor believes in some sense, right? That's their calling. So. Yeah, pretty interesting. And then he had another dream in June 2020. It wasn't like it wasn't a big thing, so I'm just going to mention it. But he just said he saw a lot of signs that said no change available, like money wise. There's no change available, which we did see. We did see that.
We saw that national
where people were
coin
like,
shortage.
"Hey, yeah," it was like the coin shortage. That's right. People were asking for pay in debit or credit cards or exact change only.
Yeah, exact change.
So we saw that a lot. So when he posted that on his Facebook, he said within a week he started getting a flood of people taking pictures and saying, "Yep, here you go. Here's the sign. I just saw this at McDonald's or gas station or whatever." So within a week of him posting that, he started getting a lot of people responding, showing him pictures of the actual signs about no change available.
That went on for months.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was funny how many people were upset about that. Like, oh my gosh, like they don't have change. My money is legal tender, and they have to take it. And I was just like, honestly, like let's just think about this. How many people, and even you people listening at home, the listeners here, how often do you actually use cash?
Right.
Because I've been using my debit card for pretty much my entire adult life. Like, I rarely use cash, so
I usually just carry cash around the summertime, so when the ice cream truck comes around, I've got like, I got some money.
There's certain things like
but now they carry.
But like realistically though, how often do you actually use cash? Like
I rarely.
And I mean, like, I want to send you some money. I just send it Venmo.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I've been joking around for years saying that money isn't real anymore. You're just
It's a piece of paper anyway.
It's not not even that anymore. It's just numbers on a computer.
Right. But I'm just saying the idea of money was just a piece of paper anyway.
Yeah, it is.
So it wasn't really anything anyway.
I just thought it was funny because like literally everybody's money is just a number in a computer somewhere.
It's true.
And people were like freaking out about the corn shortage, but I mean it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So what was he 4 for 5 here or?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, so pretty much 4 for 5. So pretty spot on. And then I actually watched. So this was not an interview. This was something separate. I'm gonna share. But I watched another interview. No, it was actually one of his dreams. And this time he was just in his church filming himself. And so this dream happened in December 2020, and he called this the state versus church dream. And so what it was he saw a building of a church and a building of the Capitol, and they basically were kind of fighting. Anyway, there's a lot of detail in it, but so that dream happened in December 2020. It's actually December 29th that he dreamt it and posted it. January 6th, a week later, that's when the Capitol was raided.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was pretty significant. I was like, oh wow, like he had this dream. He posted it end of December. Church and the Capitol are fighting. He called it church and state, but he specifically mentions the Capitol a lot in this dream. It was the Capitol. The Capitol did this. The Capitol's wearing this. Like it was basically like these buildings had arms and they were like duking it out. But then a week later, the Capitol was raided. And so I was just like, I kind of pieced that together when I watched him. Like, oh man. As I was watching him talk about this dream, I actually Googled, when was the Capitol raided? And it said January. So basically a week later, it was when it was raided. So I thought, oh, kind of significant. I thought anyway. So that was a dream he posted December 29th, January 6th. Capitol was raided.
Yeah, it's not even a week, man.
Yeah. So
that's maybe just over a week.
Exactly. And so, so I wanted to share this because I'm probably one of the least political people out there. Like I don't care for politics at all. But I did find this interesting, and that's why I want to talk about it, Beaker. So, I mean, tell me, like, what do you think about prophecies or these visions of dreams, or what do you think about dreams in general? Of you like having a dream and then something come true.
I've been having dreams like that since I was a kid. Like
you had a dream of something and then they came true?
So the very first one that I can remember specifically. I know my dreams have been like prophetic like this. It's nothing like,
okay,
like, oh, this is going to affect the entire world or whatever, or the country. I still remember when I was a teenager. Like the first one that I can remember this happening, because I've had several dreams where I dream about something and it will be maybe a month later or it'll be a couple of years later. It actually happens. But it's always something to do with my life. It's more like a deja vu type of thing.
Okay.
It's always, but it's usually something specific to me, and it's usually something that's not extremely exciting or important.
Okay.
But the first one I remember is I was wearing rollerblades.
Okay.
Standing next to a pool table watching someone play pool.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Yes.
Okay. So fast forward like a year or so later. At the time, like I had this dream, I didn't even own a pair of rollerblades. Didn't know how to rollerblade.
Okay.
Never rollerbladed. So I'm having a dream of myself wearing rollerblades, standing next to a pool table, watching someone play pool. What are the odds of that actually happening, right?
Right, yeah.
It happened.
Huh.
I used to, be a member, well, I technically still am, but I used to go to an LDS church.
Okay.
I was part of the Boy Scouts. And one of our overnight, like, camping trips, if you want to put it that way, we actually stayed in the rec room at Hill Air Force Base.
Okay, all right.
And in the gymnasium where they had the basketball hoops and whatnot, they told us as long as we put tape over the brakes on the rollerblades, we could rollerblade in the gym there.
Okay.
And so one of my friends had let me borrow his rollerblades,
okay.
And I was rollerblading around in the gym and whatnot, and I came out into the main hallway and stood next to a pool table watching some of my friends play pool while I'm wearing a pair of rollerblades. But honestly, like,
interesting.
When you think about that, when that dream happens, like, honestly, my thought is, like, I don't even own rollerblades.
Yeah.
But what are the odds that I'm actually going to be wearing rollerblades standing next to a pool table? Probably not very good.
What are the odds that you're going to even remember that dream when you wake up? That's another odd. Right? Because you rarely remember your dreams. that's not like a dream that really stands out. Really, like, okay, you're wearing rollerblades, watching people play pool. What's so significant about that to remember in the first place?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a weird, random thing, but I dreamt about it, and maybe it was like, I can't remember how long later it was
Yeah.
after the dream, but it happened.
So when it happened, were you like, wait a minute?
Yes.
Okay.
Like every time I remember something in a dream, I remember a few years ago standing in my friend's kitchen. Exactly how we were standing in his kitchen having the conversation. I remembered it all happening before.
Okay.
And I even stopped my friend and I said, wait a second. I'm like, have we had this conversation before? And he looks at me weird. He's like, I can assure you, we've never talked about this before. But I remembered it exactly. The placement where we were standing. Like
Yeah.
I can picture it right now. Like his kitchen where we were standing. And I don't remember what we were talking about. But at the time it kind of clicked. I'm like, we've had this conversation before. And he just was like, nope.
Actually, in this interview with Pastor Dana, he actually mentions deja vu, and he mentioned it as it's a sign that you're supposed to be there, because you envision yourself to be there, and now you're there finally, and you were supposed to be there.
So that's what I've heard too. Like people
Yeah.
have told me, like when you have those instances of deja vu, when you dream about something and it happens, it's showing you that you're on the right path in your life.
Yeah.
And I believe that to a point.
Okay.
I mean, like a lot of the times, like I don't remember the most recent instance of deja vu, but I've had it happen a lot throughout my adult life, where I dream about something and it could be a week later, it could be a month later, like it could be a year later.
Yeah.
But I've had dreams about stuff and I'm just like, oh yeah, I dreamt about this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of, for me, I think when I realize that, it kind of gives me that assurance. It's like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing.
Okay. You know, I've had a lot of situations where somebody pops in my mind randomly. And I'm like, gosh, I wonder what that person's up to. I haven't seen or heard or anything from that person forever. And literally, days or weeks later, I run into that person, get a call from that person or something, where they just call me up like, hey, I just ran across your number. Just want to give you a call. I'm like, well, funny enough, I just was thinking about you. You ever had that happen?
Sort of.
Okay.
I can think of a time recently where I have a friend of mine that I used to be really good friends with. We used to, hang out all the time until he moved to St. George, and then when he moved back, we don't talk and hang out as much as we used to. But a few months ago, I think it might have been summer last year. Even.
Okay.
So it might have been a little bit ago, but I don't know. It was just driving down the street, inspiration. It just something hit me, and I'm like, I need to give this guy a call.
Okay.
And I hadn't talked to him in a long time. Like it'd been like a year or two, and just whatever reason, I felt like I need to call him.
Okay.
I need to call and see how he's doing. And come to find out, he was actually kind of going through some stuff.
Okay.
And I literally, he's like, why did you call? And I said, I felt like you needed to hear from a friendly voice.
Nice.
And he's like, yeah, actually I did. He's like, I'm glad you called. And we ended up having lunch that weekend and just kind of catching up. And he told me what it was like, because he lives downtown Salt Lake. And his balcony overlooks like one of the streets that they shut down, like for the riots.
Oh.
Or it's just for him it was like it's so surreal just seeing like how busy that downtown Salt Lake normally is.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, just like I've even seen pictures on Facebook of him literally walking his dog down the middle of the street because there was just nobody out.
Wow.
And apparently that's just downtown Salt Lake. Like,
yeah.
Because I know they shut down downtown Salt Lake for a couple days after the
Yes,
riots.
they did. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just it's not like I was thinking about him or anything, and it wasn't like maybe he put it out there in the universe that hey, I need to hear from somebody, and I picked up on it, and I'm like, dude, I felt like you needed to have a chat with a friendly familiar voice.
So I find that fascinating. Like that stuff happens. Like we either put that energy out there or. So all right, so I've had this discussion where I talk about this, right? Like where I think of somebody, they come to my mind, and then all of a sudden they enter my life. I run into them at the store, they call me, they show up, whatever. And I was like, I wonder if you reverse it. Maybe that was supposed to happen, and that's why it came to me. You know, like I kind of just reversed it. Like I'm supposed to run in. Not that I'm missing that person, but not necessarily. But maybe I'm supposed to run into that person again. So it reverse where it's going to happen, and then it shows itself to me, and then it happens.
It's a possibility.
Yeah,
Like,
who knows?
well, I don't know if you believe in spirit guides, but I do. I believe everybody has a spirit guide. Their main spirit guide, but you have multiple spirit guides. Some religions they'll call it the Holy Ghost, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have some sort of guide or spirit that are looking out for you and kind of directing you down your path to make sure you're going down the right path, right? So maybe it's possible that like that person's guide like met up with your guide or whatever, and they're like,
okay,
and they kind of put it in your head that like this is going to happen sooner. You need to talk to this person.
Or maybe that's how guides speak to us is through our dreams. That's when our subconscious maybe is more awakened because we're physically asleep, and our subconscious is more awakened. We can have that communication. Maybe
I would agree completely with you on that one. That's how I found the name of my main spirit guide. I was just curious one day, going to bed. I was, and try this sometimes. Try it, listener, you, anybody.
Okay.
If you have a question that you want like answered
right.
about your life, and when you're going to bed, just like think about that question. So in my case, I was just like, as I'm going to bed, as I'm kind of doing a little bit of meditation and relaxing before I go to sleep, I was just kind of putting it out there in the universe. I'm like, I'm curious, what's the name of my main spirit guide?
Go on.
And then I fell asleep, right? I don't remember any dreams or anything like that. I just remember waking up and the name Rose was in my head.
Okay.
And I'm like, and at that point, I honestly think I forgot I even put it out there when I was going to bed.
You sure?
I just wake up and I'm thinking Rose. And
right.
I'm just like, well, this is weird. Why am I thinking Rose?
Yeah.
And I started asking like some intuitives and some mediums and stuff. I'm like, does this name mean anything? And it was finally like, I think 2 years later after I got the name, and when I first kind of started down my path as an energy healer, it was finally revealed to me that Rose is my main spirit guide.
Interesting.
So I believe wholeheartedly that your subconscious, when you're asleep, is in a different state of being, and you can more or less download information, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why that's why I was a little skeptical about this guy at first, because like I said, the video that you shared with me was posted in October. And he's talking about all the stuff that has already happened.
Sure, right.
And so, like I said, I didn't do the research like I should have. But I think that might make for a little more interesting conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, yeah, right. Like, yeah, I could totally make a video, a year or so after all this stuff happened.
I knew who the president was going to be.
I had a dream about it a year ago, and knowing that he actually was like posting it on Facebook and stuff like that, that kind of changes my mind about this particular case. But I do believe that we can receive information in our dreams,
right?
If we're open to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you saying that makes me wonder. People, they say their prayers before they go to bed, and usually you're talking to yourself, or maybe you're speaking out loud, but maybe that's, those when you get those answers in your dreams, or maybe even with Pastor Dana, who knows. That's when the spirit guides are reaching out, getting the information from God or the higher being or whatever. I mean, that opens up almost a whole other can of worms. I guess my mind's spiraling about like what things could be, This
whole thing's fascinating. I do believe that people can receive like visions or prophecies or seeing things that are going to happen in the future. Because like I said, in my own personal experience, has it been anything like profound? No. Rollerblading next to a pool table? Right. Not profound. But I did dream it like a year or so before it actually happened. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say like it's entirely possible, and especially knowing the fact now that he was posting this on Facebook and actually like kind of going live with it when it was happening.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it's entirely possible. Is everyone going to have some like profound dream that's going to predict the future? No.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, he had the finger tap on September, but nothing we can really think of in September happened that was significant.
And if you guys know of something that happened in September that we're missing, let us know. But,
yeah, please.
But it sounds like the majority of what he had dreams about actually took place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why he went viral a little bit because.
So then you have to ask the question, why him? What is he doing differently or not doing differently
Uh-huh.
that sets him aside. Like, because you have, look at the leaders of major religions, the LDS Church, the prophets,
Yes.
the Catholic Church, the Pope,
Yes.
and the heads of other religions like Scientology or whatever. If all of these people speak directly to God or the higher power or whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
why did they not get these dreams?
Exactly.
If they're
Right.
not saying that they're not good men or they're not righteous people or whatever.
I know what you mean.
I'm sure they live their religion to the best of their ability.
Yes.
So why wasn't it brought forth to one of these like high profile
Yeah.
people, and why is it just some dude in Kentucky?
Or maybe they did, they just don't share it. So, for example, Pastor Dana here, he has, what now YouTube, was more Facebook videos, is he was doing prayers. Just like, hey, let's do a prayer. He would just do prayers online. He was just sharing his dreams. So, the Pope, the prophets, like, I don't think they have, like, I don't know, I could be wrong, but maybe they don't have public social media pages where they're just posting, like, here's my dinner today, here's my family,
Well, yeah,
and then here's my other things that I'm thinking of. I might be wrong again, but I don't think they do that. And so maybe they do, they're just not sharing it.
That's possible.
They're just maybe sharing that with their inner circle. But highly likely they're not, though.
Obviously, the Pope. We're recording here at the end of Easter Sunday. I guess we're probably into Monday at this point. But I know the Pope had his like Easter talk, and I believe the LDS General Conference was this weekend.
Yes, right.
So I guess they do sort of have like a big platform that they can broadcast like anything they have or what information they might have gotten. But I've never really heard any of them talk about like visions or dreams that they've had.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wonder if they just don't share that at all, or maybe they're not. Or maybe they're not receiving.
I have no idea.
It is a great question though. Why this pastor? What makes him quote unquote special? It's a very interesting question. I don't have the answer to though.
Right. I don't think anybody does.
Because nothing about him is like super. Like he doesn't have like the most exciting personality. Like he seems like a really super nice guy. Nothing wrong about him. But yeah, he just seems very, very calm, just very direct. Like here's what my dream was. Here's my interpretation of it. Who knows what it? Who knows? But I found it very interesting.
Yeah, I do too. It's funny is like I've actually told someone recently, and this is something I could do myself. You could probably do. Everyone should do at some point. But I kind of do readings every now and then for people. And there was a guy that works at Synchronicities that does like Reiki energy healing.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess he specializes in cutting cords. And he was showing me a piece of selenite that he has that's in the shape of a dagger.
But maybe tell people what that means, cutting cords.
So basically, like, wherever you go, you kind of leave a piece of yourself, like a part of your energy.
Okay.
Like you're leaving a trail of your energy, if that makes sense. And I've sort of been able to kind of trace people's energy and figure out what stuff's going on. Brandy's really good at tracing people's energy. She's been able to tell me what's going on in an investigation that she didn't even go to. Like, we'll be in my car like 2 days later, and she'll tell me everything that happened in the investigation without actually having been there.
Interesting.
And she was able to just follow my energy back to that place. And so sometimes you might leave, like, say I leave like a negative impression on you. Right?
Okay.
And so we've got that kind of cord between the two of us, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what he does is he helps cut those cords.
Okay.
He helps cut that negative off and get rid of it from your life.
And he said, and I'm sorry, before I cut you off, you said he was using a selenite?
Selenite dagger.
Oh, dagger. Okay.
And so it's a metaphysical cord. It's not like a cord you can actually see.
Right.
It's not like you're walking around. It's not like there's actual. Yeah, we're not tethered together like physically. It's more energetically. And so he cuts those energetic cords that don't need to be there.
Okay, all right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he went to hand me the dagger, and I just looked at it and I said, I cannot touch this. But then he started telling me about, there's something like, we can get into crystals more on a different episode, but I do believe that crystals are meant for certain people, and this crystal had found its owner and did not want anybody else touching it.
Interesting.
But as we're talking a little more, he's like, I think I found my purpose in life. I think I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just started kind of getting that intuition coming. And I go, I remember looking at him and I'm like, do you have very vivid dreams? And he's like, sometimes. And I go, okay, well, pay attention to what you're dreaming about. I'm like, because I'm like, what you need to know is going to be revealed to you within the next year in a dream.
Huh.
And it's funny because I kind of completely forgot about that when you mentioned this topic.
Okay.
I straight up told this guy, like, I'm like, you're going to get some information in a dream about what your path in life is going to be and what you need to be working on. And his suggestion, he's like, so you're saying I should keep a dream journal? I'm like, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, do that.
Okay.
So that's kind of this long story short. I think that, like, all of us, if we take the time to, like, make a dream journal, like, have that book next to your bed, so when you wake up and you feel like you've just dreamed something that might mean something, write that down.
That's a good point. Like, I forget mine so quick. Like, almost the moment I wake up, the dream's forgotten. I can probably easily count how many dreams I've remembered. That's like one or two ever in my life.
See, I've remembered quite a bit, but, like, trying to think on them now, like, I don't remember all. But I've had a bunch where they've actually come true. But someone else I was talking to she was told to keep because she would do, like, a dream journal in her phone. So she'd wake up, remember stuff, jot it down real quick in her phone, and then kind of, like, fall back asleep.
Oh, so that's pretty good.
So one of the things that was suggested to her, and I'm kind of interested, like, in trying this myself and see if it actually works. But just leaving the journal open with a pencil or whatever right there.
Yes.
And I don't know if this is going to work for everybody or just specific people, but she was basically told, like, she'll be able to do automatic writing while she's sleeping.
Oh.
So more or less her guides will take over and write down the information she needs while she's sleeping. The thought of that kind of scares her, and she doesn't want to do it. But I'm like, this would be fascinating. Do it. I want to see what you write.
I'm curious to hear about that.
And if you don't know what automatic writing is, have you heard of automatic writing?
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know what automatic writing is, and I've actually witnessed someone do this firsthand, she kind of went in this, like, weird trance. Some of the time she'd put her head down on the table, and she's not even looking. Like, she'd literally head on her arm on the table, and her hand is just going.
Right. Yeah.
And you can actually make out words.
That's
like, and it's what was really interesting, and that's why I kind of want her to do this other person that was told to do the kind of like the automatic writing while she's asleep.
Okay.
One of the things I noticed with the automatic writing is when different spirits were being channeled, the handwriting was different.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And I really wish I could show you guys that. I need to see if I can get someone that still has one of those flash drives with the pictures of the automatic writing, because my flash drive was stolen.
Oh, dear. September, that was it.
but I'm curious, like, maybe give it a try. Like, if you feel like inspired to do, like, automatic writing while you're sleeping, I'm not going to tell everybody. I'm not even going to say go do this, because I don't want people to invite things in their house that shouldn't be in their house.
Right.
But this person was specifically told by, like, a different medium or someone during a reading.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you'll be able to get information you need while you're sleeping. You'll get automatic writing in. And I think the whole concept of, like, the dreams, like, knowing things or things being revealed to you in dreams, I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting. Yeah. And I think it's totally possible.
Before we end this episode, I'll share my dream that I remember probably 15 years ago. Hopefully something comes of it 15 years later. But I had a dream that I was walking on these really large rock. They were like the beach. It was like a big lake or river, and on the side, instead of, like, sand, it was big boulders that I was walking across, and I came across a pirate ship, and I finally remembered I am Peter Pan. And I flew to go fight Hook. And I tried to escape, and I flew into a window. So that was a dream I remember 15 years ago. I am Peter Pan.
I have dreams that I remember from when I was a kid, but not that actually came true. I was never eaten by a giant hamburger helper hand. I've had those dreams where, like, have you ever had those dreams where, like, you're going upstairs and all of a sudden they turn into, like, a slide and you can't go up anymore?
I haven't had dreams, but I know what you mean, yeah.
I had dreams like that where my driveway was like that, like going up my driveway and I couldn't walk up the driveway. There's a giant hand that looks like the hamburger helper hand, like trying to
so
eat
funny.
me. The scariest that I ever had is I woke up one night and it looked like there was Jason Voorhees standing outside of my bedroom window.
Oh, wow.
Like, I remember that from when
that's
I was
spooky.
like, I was probably 8 or 9.
That's pretty spooky.
And I'm looking out my window, I see Jason Voorhees, like a hockey mask with a knife, and I was just like, I freaked out.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a nightmare right there.
yeah.
But really, I am Peter Pan.
But you are.
Awesome. Well, thanks for
Meld your
watching.
face like a Hook. Oh, there you are, Peter.
I just watched Hook the other day, actually.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Like you're saying, if you've had a dream that's come true, tell us about it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
You can hit us up on Facebook, evp.pod
Yes.
at gmail.com, or Instagram. You can hit us up there.
Yeah.
But we'd love to hear your stories of dreams that you've had that have come true.
Oh, I'd love to hear some.
And then, obviously, if you send them to us, let us know if we can share it on the show or not. Because we don't
good. Yes.
Because if it's not something, if it's something you just want the three of us to know, we'll keep it to the three of us. If you want it shared on the show, let us know, and we'll read your story on the show.
That'd be fun. That would be so fun. I hope we get some in. That'd be fun.
Or just any paranormal experience, anything that you've had that you want us to share on the show. Like, hit us up, let us know. Like,
we'll give you a shout out.
We'll give you a shout out. We'll read your story on the air, and yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching and listening again to another episode of the EVP podcast.
Peace out, butterflies.
This is the EVP Podcast.